Welcome to another exciting episode of the Show. This is where two geeks talk about pretty much everything. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Landon.
Good day. Good day.
Are you talking? Are we good? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Wow. Season
Three.
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 Season three. Wow.
Yeah, that's something. If only we had three listeners.
Ha, ha. It all starts here.
Oh,
I'm glad to do this with you for 3 seasons.
yeah, man. Here's the three more.
I find it
Do
cathartic.
this one first. Do what?
I find it to be cathartic. It's cathartic.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
Are you sure you're using that word correctly?
I do not think you know the things it means,
You keep using this word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Oh, so yeah, we've been on a bit of a hiatus for 3 months, roughly,
uh
give
maybe
or
two.
take. Well, August was our last new episode, and here we are. It's November.
Yep.
And ladies and gentlemen, in that time, sadly, Landon and I lost a grandmother. Our shared grandmother. We are cousins after all. And so in that time, we were able to say goodbye to her and honor her memory. And we thought we would take this episode to kind of look back on her life a little bit and share some memories that we have growing up, not just of her as our grandmother, but her husband, who had passed away 19 years ago. Um, Together, they were affectionately known as Mama and Papa.
And the other
Um,
side too is like, obviously, if anybody listens on this and doesn't know our grandmother or is not a family member, I think the idea is that there's a value in taking a moment to appreciate the impact that your matriarch or patriarch has on your family, and the impact that that has. The show here is born out of Aaron and I having conversations at our grandmother's house and just cutting up most inappropriately, talking about anything and everything, and you know, secretly probably abashedly making people laugh a little bit, sometimes, and
more than they want to let on.
more than they'd want to let on. Absolutely, but I feel like there's value in us having this conversation because it is an honor and tribute to not just our grandmother, but to really all grandmothers, in the sense that if you had a family where you had a matriarch or patriarch who um, kind of tied people together, and then that last person is gone, then you would understand where we're at right now. This place where, the very last grandparent, say Fanny, and so we're grappling with that. And but we have so many honoring. We had a probably, I don't, this probably sounds silly to say, Aaron, but I think we both agree it was a pretty incredible funeral. You were hilarious, I thought.
Yeah, the Tigers were amazing. Just kidding, folks. There were no tigers. This was not a Siegfried and Roy funeral. It was very respectful and very tasteful. Mama would have wanted tigers at her
He would
funeral
not. In fact, I'm pretty sure I said things and Aaron said things that she would not have approved of. And
but
to
she would
you,
anyway.
thank you. What?
She absolutely would have laughed anyway.
That's absolutely true. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we tried to put the fun in funeral, if we could. Because I mean, seriously, what's the point of celebrating somebody's life if it's all somber and sad? I mean, yes, we're grieving, and Christmas isn't going to be the same without Mama being around. But man, what a life! Um,
Absolutely.
let's so if you don't know, and we never really mentioned it on this podcast, but over the last few years, Mama kind of had some health issues. She had a stroke several years ago, right around Christmas, and then we found out, what was it, 2 years ago, that she had breast cancer.
Yep.
Was it roughly 2 years?
Yeah, because we also dealt with the time that she was in the hospital during Christmas that one time. So we had the COVID one. We
No,
also
that
had
was when she had the
the
stroke.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in the hospital during Christmas because of that, and so then
But was it during the stroke that she found out in that process that she had breast cancer?
no, I believe that was later.
Later. Isn't it? It's like
Um,
a blur to me because
it
we had
is.
Christmas where we went where she was actually in the hospital for Christmas, and that had never happened. Like that was never like, and so that was a big deal. Then we had the one where it was during COVID, and we went to her house, but it was everybody was like in the garage area, and they were like in the other area, like in the house area. And then we had last year's, which was the first real one, and then here we are at. So the last 3 seasons have been pretty weird comparatively.
Yeah, that's the world post COVID now.
But you remember, I mean, we would go to her house for like for Christmas, and we go to their basement. I mean, first of all, the food was incredible, and I think we had a chance like to in our rendition at the funeral. Aaron had, of course, shared his well eloquent scripted post that he had done. Um, I literally was off the cuff as I would be, and to and Aaron's mom, my aunt, was truly mortified and scared as to what I would or could say because
Well, did you believe? Because
everyone knew that I was unscripted, so
she said that to me yesterday. She was like, I was terrified of what Landon was going to say because I knew he didn't have anything prepared.
that is accurate. I didn't do bad. I thought I did okay.
You did a great job, I thought.
I mean, I'm glad I went before you did.
I'm glad I went after.
That's true. You did clean up the crew. I did literally say in front of all those people that I was glad that you went before I did. So I think kind of
Yeah,
because you're older than I am, so you should have gone before I did.
and I was supposed to apparently, but they messed it up. I think they went with the order of Mama's
Tallest?
children, and then their children's children, or something like that. I don't know, but no, yeah, I was happy to back clean up.
You said the part that you said about the gravy, about God and food from How I Met Your Mother, that was hilarious. That you
That
gotta
wasn't
say what
gravy. That
you
was
said.
macaroni and cheese. That was
Yeah, yeah,
macaroni and
yeah.
cheese. So,
Oh no, yeah,
so
yeah, that's
everybody,
gross. Yeah.
pretty much everybody who eulogized Mama mentioned her macaroni and cheese because I mean it's epic. It's legendary. It
It
is
was,
the
yeah.
most delicious food on this side of heaven, and so I threw in a line that I stole from How I Met Your Mother, but they paraphrased from the movie Amadeus.
Oh,
I
right, right,
basically
right. You
said
told me
this is no mere side dish. This was God speaking to us through food.
that. I love that.
That got a pretty good laugh, I thought.
That got a good laugh. And there was quite a few old people in that place. That was a lot of old
Yeah,
people.
yeah. I told everybody, I was like, if you didn't get a chance to sample Mama's macaroni and cheese while she was here, you have my undying pity because now you're gonna have to miss out.
My
Because
hat
it doesn't
yeah.
matter who tries, nobody's been able
It,
to duplicate what she did to it.
there
I
have
think she
been many
taught us.
people who tried.
I'm pretty sure she taught us all how to make it, but she left something out.
Well, it's like I said when I got up there. I was like, everybody's talking about how nobody could duplicate it, but the fact is nobody felt comfortable, putting
Right.
that much butter and cheese into anything. I mean, literally. No,
Aside from Momo and Paula Dean.
oh yeah, for real. No, yeah. I, in arriving there, I had actually just recently lost a friend. My best man in my wedding, Corey Malone, he had passed away. just a little bit before that. And so this time period of coming to this and having this happen, it was not entirely unexpected that our grandmother was going to pass away. We kind of been awaiting this possibility, just given her health decline. Unfortunately, just watching, your mom and our aunt Cindy and my dad going through this along the way was pretty rough to watch. But I came to this funeral and brought my daughter with me. My son and my wife couldn't make it, but my daughter came with me, and I was kind of in a rough spot, to be honest. It wasn't like I couldn't go down to the funeral for my friend who had passed away, and so it I was dealing with a little bit of grief on both sides, and it wasn't just that Mama passed away. There was like a piece in me about Mama, like she had been dealt with some pain and she dealt with some health decline. And so there's a piece in knowing that she wasn't in that kind of pain anymore. But it was also looking at this as like a wow, we've been doing this family gathering. We've been having this like routine forever, and now there's this ending of this. It's not that we can't all still find a way to get together. It's just like she was like a tether or a tie
She was
for
the
our
tie that
family.
binds.
Exactly. And so now we've got to figure something out. Like, I mean, obviously you and I will still remain close, but our family in all of these different segments and different places and all of this, it's like we're gonna have to figure this out. So that's happening. And then I'm also dealing with my friend. And so when I came, I mean, it was just like a little bit earth shattering for me, to be honest with you, about all of this. And was something to cope with, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll be honest, that's something I've been thinking about too. Is I mean, obviously from a different perspective, I can't can't say that I came into this having recently lost a friend myself. But uh, as far as thinking about what the future holds for our extended family and what does that look like for Christmases moving forward, because here we are, typically the only time of the year we would see each other would be at Christmas because we're
Right,
also spread out,
right,
and we'd all come back home to Roanoke to where Mama's house is,
right.
and this is where we would celebrate the holidays together, even just having that one day together, typically speaking, and now that, like we said, the tie that binds is no longer here. Where does that leave us? Obviously, we're going to have to be intentional about maintaining these relationships, and finding other ties that bind us together, as opposed to a matriarch who brings us together and feeds us the most amazing macaroni and cheese in the world. um yeah,
Well,
and I can't
yeah,
help
I'm
but
with
think
you.
about the other side of my family, my dad's side. you know there's so many cousins, and of course his siblings on the Nashville, Tennessee side of things. I haven't seen most of them in years, almost a decade maybe. I'm pretty sure the last time I even traveled out to Nashville was for my cousin's wedding, and I sang in it, and that's the last time I think I've seen really anybody. And that in some ways it breaks my heart, and in other ways it's like, well, that's life. People grow apart, and you can't help but have that distance between you. It's easier now, I think, with technology. I mean, obviously you and I are what, 900 miles apart from each other, and here we have a way to communicate instantaneously and carry on a conversation, for this podcast. Whereas, you know 20, 40 years ago, you had to pay extra just to call somebody on the phone, which just blows my mind.
Yeah, well, you're
So,
right
it's
that we'll have to be intentional about deciding, or ultimately it's like you have two paths. You can be intentional about saying, I'm going to do this and carry this on. And you have to have a collective, at least two or three or four people who are going to actually make that happen. Or you have to come to grips with the fact that it's not going to happen and you make peace with it. Like you and I have a friendship that is beyond, any of this, that we can do this via technology and stay in touch and have this. But when we think about the family and we think about like getting together, it is a question, uh of all of that and tradition. And then also when you start adding into the fact that like take my sister's kids and their ages and my kids and their ages, and you think about all these different people in different states and different colleges and trying to get together, it makes it very challenging in figuring out how to do it. And one thing that I appreciated that we had a conversation with Kelly, right? And we were talking about like who's a cousin of ours. Right? I don't know what she is. I'm thinking she's like a cousin in some respect.
She's technically our second cousin. She is mom and your dad's first cousin.
Even though she's also, because Mama's like Mama MacDowell's not daughter, but stepdaughter or half daughter, or how does that work? There's like a
Oh
thing
no,
that
okay.
happened
So if
with
you get
all.
into all that, but
All right, help
but
me out here because what is
she's
Kelly?
also our great grandfather's granddaughter. So Kelly would have been uh okay. So
Help me.
folks, you're getting a little glimpse into our family tree and some of the twisted vines that hang from it.
I
Uh,
also want you all to know, as an avid listener, I also have no idea how it works. So this is actually going to be helpful for all of us.
well, it was so funny. Like every time somebody new came into the funeral home, like I had to lean over to my sister and be like, "Who's that? Are we related somehow? Is
Yeah,
this how does this work?" Okay,
seem to
so
know us.
we've got our great grandfather, who I believe his name was Gilmer. Does that does that ring a bell?
I just remember him as being, Dr. Pepper, and I was Mr. Pibb.
He was Granddaddy MacDowell,
Yes,
even
but I
though
was
the name
that's all I.
should be pronounced McDowell. It's not MAC, it's MC McDowell.
But we always said
Granddaddy
MacDowell,
McDowell, but we for some reason always say
MacDowell,
MacDowell. And so he was married to
Mr. Pibb.
Virgie, who would have been our grandmother's mother,
She would
but
be our
she
great
passed
grandmother.
away.
She is
Right,
actually our great grandmother.
she is our actual great grandmother. She passed away, and then her sister Ruth moved in to help take care of the kids, Jane, our grandmother, and her brother, and wound up she and Gilmer fell in love, got married, later had Calvin.
Which was normal. That happened.
Yes, it was normal. Uh, April and I were talking about the family dynamic there, and it's mentioned in the program or the like the handout that they give you where it says that she's preceded by and survived by all these. It said she's preceded by her mother Virgie and her stepmother Ruth. And and I was joking with April. I was like, "What?" I was every time it comes out, I'm like, I love pretending like it's the first time I'm finding out. But for
What?
a lot of people, I feel
I'm
like this
I'm
would be the
adopted?
first time they're finding out. Um, that Ruth McDowell was not Jane's biological mother.
Biological mother. I know. It's almost like a scandal. It's like, what?
Yeah, but you think about it, Ruth was only like 10 years older than Mama.
That's a good point. In all fairness, like functionally, like for both of us, Mama McDowell, aka Ruth McDowell, was our great grandmother. I mean,
She's the only great grandmother we ever knew.
Yes, I went to her house. She gave me the cucumbers with the vinegar. David Brewer came over. That's like this is my great grandmother, and her husband was my great grandfather, who actually is my biological great grandfather, and he called me Mr. Pibb. I called him Dr. Pepper. I mean, it's really a question of what you consider to be who your true grandparents or great grandparents or parents are. Is it the biology of it, or is it the functionality of it? Right. And
It isn't
these were
always about blood.
it's not always about blood. So I mean, because honestly, Aaron, you're the closest thing that I have to a brother. You know what I
I've
mean?
said that about you for years.
And you're my cousin. You know what I mean?
Like
So
growing up, you and I were very much like brothers. We
yeah,
we would hang out like brothers. We would have fun like brothers. We would argue and fight like
argue
brothers.
like brothers. Yeah,
That's just how it was. That's how our relationship was growing up. I mean,
absolutely.
we didn't live in the same house,
No.
but we still had that back and forth relationship that only brothers tend to have.
Yep. Yep.
So yeah, when it comes to family, like these labels that we put on everybody, like I say, so coming back to this, you were wondering how it works with Kelly, who you mentioned is our cousin, but technically she's our second cousin. But when you want to get real technical about it, she is our half second cousin.
All right, hold on. She's Calvin's daughter,
Right.
but Calvin's daughter from Sherry?
No.
Calvin's daughter from somebody else.
Previous marriage, yes.
Who was that?
That marriage ended before I was born, I think. I'm not sure.
We don't know who that was. All right, so Kelly and Missy and Crystal are
Half.
half half siblings. They're half.
Missy and Crystal, sisters. Kelly is their half sister.
All right, so I'm going to go back. All right,
But they're
so
sisters. And
so
Sherry had as much a hand in raising Kelly as anybody else. So,
all right, right. No, 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 no. I
Kelly
get that too.
considers Sherry,
That's
as much a mom as anybody else.
all right, all right, all right, all right. Here we go. All right, so we have our great grandfather. All right,
Right. Gilmer.
that's a silly name.
Can't
All
do
right,
it.
anyway,
Can't do
all right.
it.
Gilmer. All right. So
Granddaddy McDowell,
we have Gilmer. All right, and then he's married to Bergie. She dies of illness.
I would assume.
All right,
I don't know.
so
Yeah, it's
she
the early
dies of illness.
1900s. Who knows?
All right, and then her sister comes in after the fact. That's our Mama MacDowell, and then from
Right?
there, and then Vergie and Gilmer had one child, which was
Two.
two. Jane and
Good
is that my
question.
uncle or my Edwin? Edwin?
No, no, not Edwin. I want to say Klein, or is that Papa's
Fine.
brother?
Shoot.
I'm telling you, it's a tangled web, man. This family tree we have.
Okay.
The
All right.
branches
All
are
right. All right.
all
All
over
right.
the place.
Forget that part. All right. So anyway, so Jane. So you
But we
have
know there were two.
there were two. All right. So then Jane and then Gilmer and Ruth have a child, which is Calvin. Calvin and Mama Jane are brother and sister, but half brother and sister.
Siblings, yes.
All right, half siblings. All right. Then Mama has your mom, Teresa, Aunt Cindy, and my dad, Linwood. And those are the three. And then
Right.
Calvin
Not
has
in that order.
right. It's my dad, then your mom, Teresa, and then Cindy. All right.
Right.
So then Calvin has Kelly with another marriage, and then Calvin
Correct.
gets with Sherry, and then Calvin has Missy and Crystal, and
Correct.
then we would, as a family, get together on family gatherings, and there would be our family and then that family together, and it was pretty
Right.
much treated like it was you and me and Lindsay and April on our side, and then it was Missy, Crystal, and Kelly on that side, and those were the cousins.
Right. Because they were so close to us in age.
Right. We were all kind
So
of
it's
close.
I
But
feel like
Kelly
they're
was like the
second
older one.
cousins.
Right.
Right. So they don't feel like second cousins because we were all, so close in age, but they are second cousins, which means that they are the children of our parents' first cousins.
Molly married Mama's brother.
That's correct.
Boom, whoever he was.
No, no. Molly married Papa's brother
Dang it.
because her last name was Metz, remember?
Yeah, Molly Metz. She was fun.
Yeah. She
She
also
died
sadly passed
right
away.
after.
Yeah, so just a few days after Mama died. Yeah.
This is
Crazy
crazy
week,
stuff. This is crazy stuff. Like just
Yeah.
thinking
When
about
you
the
get to the family
family,
trees, it's just it turns into a whole Game of Thrones thing, man.
it really does. So I guess the thing that I remember too, and kind of tying it all together, is like when we were growing up. Do you remember how they used to be like family reunions, and you go to
Oh
reunions,
yeah.
but the old people would all like get the reunions together. They were all like, "We're gonna do it," and so like we as kids would have to go to it. It's not like we had a vote in the matter. We would just be told we're going to a reunion. We'd
Guys,
go.
we're going to Narrows today.
Right. And we'd end up going to some campground or some picnic place that had like a covered area, and there'd be an insane amount of food from everybody bringing stuff, which always had fried chicken and some sort of gelatinous, some sort of sweet thing. And
Yeah,
like
and
there was,
you would always bring the Jello with the cat food in it. Yeah.
yeah, that's right, that's right. Clock. Um, and so you'd have all this food, and we'd all come, and cousins would go, and I actually had family on both sides of my mom's side and my dad's side that would do this. And I remember there being some definitive people there that like meant a lot to me at the time, but I have no idea who they are now. Do you remember any of those people?
Um. So I there are a lot of these get-togethers that happened that I have vague memories of.
Yeah,
I don't always remember them being family reunions, but if I were to ask my mom, I'm sure that's what she would call them.
yeah.
The only like real family reunions I like remember knowing them as family reunions was the Peck family reunion that,
Oh,
on my
your
dad's
side,
side of the family,
your
that
dad's side.
always happened Memorial Day weekend in Nashville. We would make that trip up there Memorial Day weekend, and that's when we got to see, all of Dad's brothers and his sister and their kids, and uh, you know, as a I think it was like in the late 80s that we went to the first one that they put together, and we found out that, like, I had no idea that Dad had cousins, and like they all had kids, and so we met our second cousins on that side that were all our age, and yeah, it was yeah, it was weird.
Well, it's like and that whole idea of reunion is something that I don't feel like I see very much anymore. It's like it dropped off in the 90s and afterwards, because
No,
I
it
don't
was, it was
remember
definitely
going to
it's a
a reunion
generational thing
since.
for sure.
Right, right, right. I think you're right. So ultimately, if you're in a position like we are, and we're like, hey, we're gonna maintain some extended family gatherings, it's pretty much reunion-esque,
Right.
and but who governs that? And that ends up becoming like the 40-year-olds, at this age, where we, I mean, surely it could be my dad and your mom and our aunt who could govern that,
Sure.
but I don't know that that's going to be super effective, nor that there would be like a, because honestly, I think that the drive of it, especially with my sister and everybody in their own way, of course, April as well, it's everybody's in their own different place. It's almost like you got to take the ones who have the busiest lifestyles and say, all right, let's decide if we're going to actually do this and camp out on a time period in the year that may or may not be Christmas anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think about, like, again with the Peck family reunions that we had, they were put together by the three Peck patriarchs, my grandfather and his two brothers. And that was it. And when that generation kind of passed away, then it was like, all right, who's taking over this thing? And since then, I know they've tried to put it together, but it's never been the same. I haven't been to one since my grandfather passed away. It's just it's not the same, and it's
Right.
I don't know if it's that, I look back at those things with a certain bit of nostalgia, and I don't want to taint that by going to a new reunion where it's
Right.
like
So should it just
it's
lie in that? I mean, that's the
right, just
question,
leave it in the
right?
past.
Just let it go, instead of trying
Right,
to find a annual tradition. Should we? I mean, even so, like obviously my son and my daughter appreciate and love you and April and all that too. But like, is it just better to say, hey, why don't you come down to Charleston sometime? You know what I mean? Or
right.
hey, we're gonna come to Virginia. Are you around? What are you doing? And then just not do it so, you know, of course your
No,
mom
I
and,
could
and Jerry might move, you know what I mean? And
sure.
Cindy might move. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with like where people are, as
Yeah.
well.
No, see, like I could see very easily your dad, my mom, Aunt Cindy, the three of them making plans for all of us to get together in that reunion type type of event. While they're around to make these plans. Um, the thing again, I keep going back to the Peck family. The thing with that was, they're still trying to hold these three families basically together. You've got three basic families. My grandfather's family, including me, and then his two brothers and their families. These are three separate, like large branches of a family tree, and you're trying to keep them all together without the the men who brought them together. So it would have been easier to separate these Peck reunions and have a Peck reunion for my grandfather's kids, his four kids and their kids, so that we all get together, and then, their great grandchildren at this point. Um, and that would have made sense for my uncles and my aunt to
Right. Right.
to get together and make something of this, but that didn't happen. And so you've still got certain members of the family who want all three branches of this family to come together on an annual basis, but it's harder to do that when you don't
Right.
have that tie that binds. Again,
Right. Well, I think there's also like there's less obligation or forced obligation like there might have been with previous generations. Like my dad would never say to me, "Hey, we're doing this and I expect you to be there." Like my dad would never be that way. I mean, at all. Your mom might be different. Your mom would be like, "I want you to be there." You know what I mean?
it used to be that way, but I think she's lightened up a lot on stuff like
On
that.
the obligation. But I mean, that's also an influence because I think our mama and papa had this expectation that they would put on the kids. And I don't think that our parents are as hardcore on that. I think they're far more respectful of our where we're at in our lives and things like that. So when you don't have that forced obligation upon you, that's maybe not healthy in itself, really. Then it really does. It's designed by desire. Family gatherings at Christmas, honestly, the question you got to ask yourself is, what are you doing it for? You know what I mean? I mean, if we're looking at like my kids, my sister's kids, and my parents, and just trying to have like this get together, then having like an extended family trip to go up to Virginia where there's not a place to be able to go to specifically, and so we have to rent a place and then go up there and then we're trying to all get together. That's a tall order, especially with Lindsay's kids, approaching college and then mine soon after. As opposed to saying like, hey, what if we all just like got a cabin in Gatlinburg every little while, like every couple of years. Let's just get a place. Anybody who wants to contribute and come. We're going to do it on this weekend. Come on if you want to. We'll have a blast. And then just coming together and having that and seeing what happens. I see that's more my speed of how we can effectively make a time where we can have that other than just the one off of like saying, "Hey, I'm coming up to Virginia as a pass through. Hey, everybody, who's in town?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. Tell you what, that cabin in Gatlinburg sounds pretty good.
Boom!
Let's go ahead
Right?
and let's book it. Let's get on it and book it.
Well, we know
Um,
with just
we're
us.
about out of time for this episode. It's funny how we just conversation flew from memories of Mama to well, what do we do now? Just
I
try not
know.
to panic, man. Family's family.
I know, but I'm glad we had this because like beyond just like honoring our grandmother and talking about like that. The truth is that you and I have had chances to speak on this. But anybody who's listening in, whether you're a family member who knew our grandmother or you're someone else, you probably have or are or will deal with this sort of thing. There is kind of like the fallout of what you do with it or how you process it. So I hope it's of value because we're still kind of still grappling with that ourselves, and
Yeah.
I mean it's a careful conversation.
Yeah, and if you're out there listening and you've been through this before and you have any insights, please share.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Again, we've got places where you can comment, you can email us, whatever. We want you to be part of the conversation. And always be sure to not to beat a dead horse, but like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Because we want you to come back and share this stuff with people you know. And if you enjoyed our conversation today, there's a chance that somebody you know would probably enjoy it too. So
Absolutely.
um, let others know that we're out here and we're having a good time. We're going to come back later this week with another episode. Uh, and don't worry, we're getting geeky again. We're not going to be so personal with our next episode,
No.
except for our personal nostalgia. We're going to be talking about the Metroid series of video games. It's good stuff. Good stuff. So tune back in here in a couple of days. Landon, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Yes, I just want to share two things real quick. Number one, my grandmother did not drink alcohol at all, like
A little
none.
bit.
And yet I do enjoy a good libation every once in a while. I
Boy.
do want you to tell you that the irony of that is that I have inherited two decanters from my grandmother. And so I think that's awesome. I will have them displayed somewhere up on the visible wall. And I think that that's really cool because, Mama, thank you. Thank you for this. You
That's
probably
awesome.
were a lush in the background. Who knew? I'm just kidding. The other thing I'll share with you too is the other thing, which as a gamer, this means a lot to me. This is
You
an
got that?
Atari. I got it, buddy.
Oh
The
man. Yeah, good luck.
Atari.
Good luck finding a TV that it goes to.
It will not. It's got simply this little cord. Look at this little thing.
Where's it plugged into?
With that. This
Worthless.
will also be visible. And so, for my grandmother, an Atari and decanters. That is how I'll end it and say, thank you, Mama. You have made this grandson's life happy.
I got some kitchen utensils and a picture I took of her old high school that I gave her for Christmas one year. I got that back. So that's great. You got freaking video breakout, and I got something I gave her myself, like a returned gift.
So
It's great.
sorry.
Good.
As you
No, it's
lose,
fine.
she loved me more.
It's fine. It's probably true. All
No,
right.
it's
No. We all know Lexi's the favorite.
very true. Very
All
true.
right, folks. Thanks for joining us today. Come back later this week. We'll have another episode. And in the meantime, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.